What is up, guys? It is Ethan Ryder with Soccer for Us Kids, U.S Kids. What a tournament we have had over the past month. From June 14th to July 15th, in Russia, the 2018 FIFA World Cup has been absolutely spectacular. A month and a day of amazing soccer for all of our eyes to feast on. Game after game, goal after goal, set piece after set piece, VAR decision after VAR decision, we have all loved it and feasted our eyes on it and loved every single second of this brilliant World Cup. Every step of the way, every turn, we have been surprised with big names like Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Salah, all going out before we expected them to, and teams progressing farther than we expected them to, great jerseys like Nigeria's. Everything is absolutely spectacular. We all have been waiting for this moment, the end, the final time of the World Cup, to know who will be reigning World Cup champions. What a game to top off a brilliant tournament. The final of the World Cup has France defeating Croatia 4-2. 4-2. That's 6 goals. Fun fact for you, that's the highest scoring World Cup final since 1998, when, coincidence, France beat Brazil 3-0. 3-0. That's 3 more goals that we saw in this World Cup Finals than the highest scoring World Cup final since 1998. Let that sink in. What a World Cup final we have just viewed. I am here to recap that final for you, so here we go. At the beginning of the game, Croatia came out defensively. I thought they were spot on with that tactic. I think if they played defensively, they would have forced France to get out of their defensive shell, and that may have been the best way to defeat this French side. However, instead of doing that, they played defensively but pressed. In the first 10 minutes, they had high press on the French team. France was pinned back. The first 10 to 15 minutes, they didn't know what to do. They were clearing balls that Giroud was running after, who is not a very fast striker, so the long ball wasn't really on. France was pinned back with Mbappe, Griezmann, and Tweedy, and all of their defenders and midfielders back in their half of the field, with Croatia attacking them and getting chances. However, that wasn't going to last for that long. France was getting pressed, however, their counterattack is dangerous when they won the ball back. France ended up getting a free kick where Griezmann was fouled. However, I do kind of think he dove. It wasn't really a foul to me. However, it could have been called a foul just because he was going to get contact at some point, but it seemed like Griezmann was looking for the foul. He jumped up in the air, and he ended up getting the foul called. They had a free kick. Set pieces has been the center of the whole tournament. Goal after goal coming from set pieces. Could France do it again with Antoine Griezmann? Antoine Griezmann put the ball in the box. Mandzukic headed it into his own net. The first own goal in World Cup final history. Another breakout statistic for this World Cup. Simply brilliant. The first own goal puts Croatia down 1-0 in the World Cup. This allowed France to go back into their defensive shell. Croatia was forced to attack more. Croatia continued to attack, with their fullbacks getting high up the field, especially Vrsaljko on the right side. He was putting in cross after cross that Mandzukic was not quite getting to. It was a great time for them. They were putting ball in here, ball in there, but they couldn't find the breakthrough. Conte ended up getting a yellow card in the 27th minute, which was huge for the end of this match. Conte is a huge player for France, and it's very dangerous for him to have a yellow card, as he's breaking up play almost all of the time. Later on, Croatia ended up getting a free kick in a dangerous position. They used a brilliant free kick tactic. Vrsaljko ran in late on the right side. Modric clipped it into him, and he headed it. Croatia, in a ping-pong ball effort, they ended up winning 4 50-50 balls. It lands at Perisic's feet, with Conte afraid to tackle him in the box with fear of a red card and a penalty kick. Perisic moved right past him with a brilliant move with his weaker right foot, and then pile drove this shot right into the right side of the net, side netting. Lloris had nothing he could do about it. An absolute stunner. Probably the best goal in the World Cup final. A brilliant goal, bringing Croatia level and forcing France once again to come out of their defensive shell. They played defense. However, right after the equalizing goal, about 10 minutes after, VAR put doom on Croatia's tying goal. Croatia ended up having a VAR decision call a handball on their player Ivan Perisic, who went from hero to villain real fast. His handball was checked by the referee and deemed a penalty kick. Griezmann stepped up and slotted it away and did his L dance, and they were flying at this point. France was winning 2-1, and they went into the halftime winning 2-1. France scored against the run of play, which a lot of players are saying they have an anti-football way of play. I don't agree with this. I think France is using a tactic that is a little different when certain teams use it. I do not like when someone like Jose Mourinho uses it at Manchester United. He uses an anti-football tactic and makes sure that his players aren't attacking, and they only win games 1-0, 2-0. However, France uses it in a different way. They sit back defensively because they are a strong defensive team. However, then they let the stars go out on attack. Someone like Mbappe, Griezmann, Giroud, they don't need as much players up there to score goals. They still score a lot of goals. I mean, they scored 4 goals in this game, so I don't quite agree with the anti-football scheme. However, at halftime, it was 2-1 to France. Croatia had 61% possession to France's 39%. They had 7 shots, with 1 on target being Perisic's goal, and the France team had 1 shot, 1 on target, the 1 being Griezmann's penalty. Croatia dominated the first half, but they come out down a goal. I always ask, at the end of the half, is enough added time added on for VAR? They had about 5 minutes of added time, or 4 minutes, I forget. It was not enough, I don't think, for the amount of time that was spent for VAR. That is something that's going to need to be looked into to make sure that added time is added on sufficiently for the amount of time that is taken up to do VAR. Croatia was still fighting to find a leveler. They were fighting and they were attacking, and they were the livelier of the two sides in the start of the second half. However, they saw how dangerous France could be when Mbappe came up, and Subasic ended up blocking a breakaway chance. Like that, France had a great opportunity. Croatia kept attacking. Conte ended up being subbed off in the 54th minute to a yellow card. This was questionable, as Conte has played every single minute at the World Cup so far, except for now when he was getting subbed off in the 54th minute for Nzonzi. It was a brilliant move, as Nzonzi is a presence in the center of the park with a tall frame and a defensive-minded player. He really was a presence that ended up helping France go on to win this game. After this substitute, the France side continued to be dominated by Croatia's front three: Ivan Perisic, Mandzukic, and Ante Rebic. All 3 of them were interchanging, and they were absolutely dominant. However, France ended up with a brilliant goal to put them up 3-1. Pogba got the ball in a half-volley diagonal cross that must have been 80 yards, all the way up to Kylian Mbappe. He ended up finding Griezmann in the center of the box, who laid it off to Pogba with a shot. His first shot was blocked, but his second shot was a peach of a shot with his weaker foot curling into the upper left-hand corner of the goal. France up 3-1. And as little as of 6 minutes later, Mbappe was making history with the 4th goal for France, and he is now only the 2nd teenager to score in a World Cup final. The other one, Pele, who is all known worldwide, one of the greatest players ever to play the sport of soccer. Mbappe is up there with the greats. It was a great dribbling show from Luka Hernandez before his goal. He took 2 or 3 Croatia players out on the left-hand side, found Mbappe, and Mbappe struck it into the bottom left-hand corner of the goal. No chance for Subasic. A brilliant goal to put France up 4-1, and at this point, it seemed like they were flying. However, soon after, Hugo Lloris made a huge mistake. He got the ball passed to him, and he tried to juke out the player. Mandzukic tackled him, and the ball rolled into the back of the net. Mandzukic has a knack for scoring in finals, and you knew he was going to get one, just not in that way. And now France, instead of being flying, were nervous. Croatia continued to attack. Croatia, throughout the game, pushed everyone forward for the last 20 minutes of the game to try and bring this game back from a 4-2 deficit. They pushed everyone forward, but France's brilliant defense kept them at bay for the whole 20 minutes. The whole time, Croatia looked visibly tired after this being their fourth consecutive game coming down from a goal behind, and they played in 3 consecutive games that went all the way to extra time and 2 of them going all the way to penalties. They were visibly tired, which made sense. France came away with the win 4-2 as they kept Croatia at bay at the end of the game. What a game it was. France winning 4-2. This is not something to die on, though, for Croatia. Croatia had a brilliant tournament. This is the best ever finish in Croatia history, only becoming the second smallest country to partake in a World Cup final with a 4 million population. It was their 4th consecutive game in the knockout stages to come from a goal down. And this is a brilliant tournament from them. It's a lot of older players like Luka Modric. However, in the next tournament, they could have a good mix of young players coming up and old players that are very experienced like Luka Modric. It'll be interesting to see how they fare at the next World Cup in 2022. But tonight was all about France. France are world champions. Raphael Varane became only the 10th man to win the European Cup and the World Cup in the same season. What a accolade for him. Griezmann, Pogba, and Mbappe all stepping up and being big players when their country needed them. A great game by all 3 of them. And this is the scary part, ladies and gentlemen. France is the second youngest team to come to the World Cup. Imagine that. The second youngest team winning the World Cup. This team has a lot to work on, and with a lot to work on, they're winning the World Cup. They're going to be here for years to come. Didier Deschamps is the 3rd man to win the World Cup as a player when he did in 1998, beating Brazil 3-0, and now as a manager in 2018, defeating Croatia 4-2. This is France's 2nd World Cup win. They will get a new star in their jersey, and they are only the 5th country to win the cup more than twice. And like I said, this team's young. I mean, scary young. Mbappe is 19. He's going to be a world beater for years to come. He's going to be insane down the road. He plays for France. The whole team, almost all of them, are in their early 20s. There are a few exceptions like Hugo Lloris, and Raphael Varane may be in his mid-20s, his older 20s. All of these people are young. Luka Hernandez, Benjamin Pavard, Umtiti, Pogba, Kanté. We have plenty of people on the bench as well. France is a young team that is going to be dominating world soccer, European soccer, any kind of soccer for years to come. This team is scary. Go ahead and mark them in as one of the favorites for the 2022 World Cup. Go ahead and mark them in for one of the favorites for the 2020 European Championships. This team is scary good, and they've shown just how good they are with the World Cup performance like this, becoming world champions. What a World Cup. This World Cup had a silver ball for the best young player. Get this, Mbappe. Some people forget that Mbappe's 19, and he obviously gets the Young Player of the Tournament award. The Golden Ball, which is the best player, goes to Luka Modric from Croatia. Well deserved, carrying his team to a final performance, but not quite getting the World Cup. A great tournament from him. The Golden Boot goes to Harry Kane, who'd wanted it the whole time, but probably would have switched it for a World Cup trophy. The Golden Glove going to Belgium's Thibaut Courtois, who had a brilliant game against Brazil. One of the highlights of his World Cup, with a brilliant save against Neymar in the last few minutes to make sure they move on to the semifinals. And the France champions of the world. They won this game through skill, heart, desire, and concentration. What a tournament. This FIFA World Cup will go down in history as one of the best to ever happen. It was simply brilliant, with surprise at every turn, and a brilliant tournament that everyone got to feast their eyes on. Now, after I'm sure a ton of celebrating from the France players and some heads down from the Croatian players, all of these teams would now go on to their club seasons, and it is now on to the club seasons for all of these players and their pre-seasons. A lot of them will take vacation and take breaks, but now, for all the supporters in the world, it is now on to the club soccer season for all of these players. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as you enjoyed watching the World Cup. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the World Cup as much as me. What a brilliant tournament, a brilliant final to cap it all off. I hope you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time on Soccer for Us Kids.